It's been over 7 years since the last attempt to reboot The Mummy flopped, but now Blumhouse has announced they're working on a new movie. This has sparked fresh speculation, especially about whether Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson might be involved in a new installment. With the franchise celebrating its 26th anniversary, fans are still wondering, will we ever get a fourth movie with Brendan Fraser? And what about another reboot? Maybe something different from Tom Cruise's 2017 version. Could we see something as soon as 2025? There are a lot of questions about where The Mummy is headed next, so let's break it all down. The Mummy franchise has been around for nearly a century, first launching in 1932 as part of the Universal Classic Monsters collection. Boris Karloff originally played the titular creature before passing the torch to actors like Tom Tyler, Lon Chaney Jr., and Eddie Parker. Over the decades, the franchise has seen multiple revivals, most notably the Brendan Fraser-led action-adventure films, which also spawned the Scorpion King spin-offs. However, the most recent attempt to revive the franchise, Tom Cruise's 2017 reboot, was a major misstep, failing to kickstart the planned Dark Universe cinematic universe. Now a fresh take is officially on the way. The official Blumhouse Twitter page recently announced that a new Mummy movie is in development, with writer-director Lee Cronin at the helm. Cronin, who recently impressed horror fans with Evil Dead Rise, will be spearheading this latest iteration. The announcement post featured a script page with the title scratched out, only for it to be revealed as Lee Cronin's The Mummy. The post also confirmed a 2026 release date, specifically on April 17. In a statement released by the studio, Cronin expressed his excitement about tackling such an iconic horror property. He promised that his version of The Mummy would be unlike anything audiences have seen before. He described his vision as digging deep into the earth to raise something very ancient and very frightening. Given Cronin's track record, it sounds like this reboot could embrace a much darker and more horror-focused approach than past iterations. While Cronin isn't the first director to attempt a Mummy reboot, he is the first to follow up the much-maligned 2017 version. That movie, which Universal had hoped would launch an interconnected dark universe, bombed at the box office, reportedly losing upwards of $95 million. The failure led to the cancellation of planned films featuring Johnny Depp as the Invisible Man and Javier Bardem as Frankenstein's monster. Since then, Universal has taken a different approach, focusing on standalone, horror-driven reboots instead of interconnected blockbusters. One of the best examples of this shift was Blumhouse's 2020 remake of The Invisible Man, directed by Leigh Whannell. Unlike Cruise's Mummy, this film was a critical and commercial hit, proving that a smaller-scale, horror-centric take on these classic characters could work. Blumhouse has since continued this trend, moving forward with a Wolfman reboot, also helmed by Whannell. Given this track record, the decision to hand The Mummy over to Cronin makes a lot of sense. Cronin has also proven himself in the world of franchise horror. His 2023 film Evil Dead Rise, which served as a standalone spin-off of Sam Raimi's Evil Dead series, became the highest-grossing film in the franchise and earned strong reviews. Originally set for a streaming release, Evil Dead Rise was bumped to theaters after test screenings went well, and the gamble paid off. Thanks to its success, more Evil Dead projects are now in development, with Evil Dead Burn already set for a 2026 release. This suggests that Cronin has the right instincts for revitalizing long-running horror franchises, making him a strong choice to reinvent The Mummy. While Cruise's movie had ambitious goals, it ultimately failed to capture the spirit of what made The Mummy great. Cronin's approach, however, could bring the fresh direction that the franchise desperately needs. His ability to balance supernatural horror with grounded storytelling, something he showcased in both The Hole in the Ground and Evil Dead Rise, suggests that his Mummy film could be a more intimate and terrifying experience rather than a CGI-heavy action flick. Blumhouse's track record with horror reboots is also encouraging. Their approach to The Invisible Man showed that these classic monsters could be reimagined in unique and compelling ways. If they take a similar approach with The Mummy, focusing on atmosphere and genuine scares rather than big-budget spectacle, this reboot could finally break the franchise's losing streak. Of course, there will always be fans hoping for Brendan Fraser's return in The Mummy 4. While that seems unlikely at this point, it's not entirely out of the question. Hollywood has a way of reviving beloved franchises when the time is right. Until then, though, Cronin and Blumhouse's version could be exactly what the Mummy needs to rise from the dead once again. With the 2026 release date locked in, we'll be keeping a close eye on how this new take develops. Will Cronin's Mummy successfully resurrect the franchise, or will it be another failed experiment? Only time will tell, but based on Blumhouse's recent track record, this could be the version horror fans have been waiting for. With Blumhouse developing a fresh take on the Mummy, it's possible that elements from previous movies, particularly The Scorpion King, could be woven into the reboot. Given Johnson's massive star power and his history with the franchise, bringing Matthias back in some form could be an exciting way to connect the reboot to its predecessors. Whether as a heroic figure from legend or a new version of The Scorpion King, Johnson's return would be a major draw for fans of both franchises. While the Mummy and the Scorpion King took different paths over the years, their shared mythology continues to make them part of the same universe. If the new reboot embraces that history, we might just see Matthias rise again, this time in a whole new way. 2002's The Scorpion King gave Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's character, Matthias of Akkad, a fresh backstory after his villainous debut in The Mummy Returns. Instead of portraying him as the menacing warrior who sold his soul to Anubis, The Scorpion King took viewers back thousands of years to explore Matthias's early days as an assassin before becoming a legendary hero. This movie marked the start of a new storyline within the Mummy universe, eventually expanding into its own series of sequels. Even though The Scorpion King is technically a prequel, it spun off into a separate franchise with 5 films, gradually moving away from its Mummy roots. However, the connection between Matthias and the Mummy films remains, especially with themes involving ancient curses, lost civilizations, and powerful relics. These links could open the door for Johnson's Scorpion King to return in the upcoming Blumhouse reboot. Instead, the Scorpion King movie suggests that the hero Matthias eventually became the grandfather of Matthias III, the tyrant seen in The Mummy Returns. This explains why the same character, played by Johnson, appears so drastically different in tone across the movies. It also means there's room to revisit Matthias's legacy in the new Mummy reboot. And that's all we know about the upcoming movie. Thanks for watching, and if something more comes out, then you'll know it. We will keep you updated, and so if you just give us a thumbs up to my channel and hit that subscribe button, we will appreciate that much more, and we will see you in the next one.